I have an abusive father. And I suppose it's rather strange to say out loud because for so many years I managed to convince myself that he was anything but. When you have a father, you're told a lot of things growing up. You're told that your father is someone who's supposed to look out for you, someone strong and dependable in your life that exists whenever you and your family need a stern but loving guidance. Someone sturdy you want to lean on when times are tough. They're the man of the house, the protector, the one who has earned your respect for raising you up to be more than you thought you could be. Or in simpler terms, a father is supposed to present a good example. My father was hardly a father to me. I call him father because that's the only label I've ever given him, and I respect him because I was raised to respect everyone. But make no mistake, my father often presented a poor example for his wife and children, whether he intended to or not. I can't pinpoint when the abuse really started, but I know it's been going on for what may as well be a lifetime. I have to clarify that he never laid a hand on me, but he never had to. My father was and still is the type to verbally cut you down to nothing. I know he's been through a lot in his life, and I know those experiences manifested into something foul. It hangs off my father's back and whispers little things here and there, poisoning his mind, spirit, and speech. He's a man that hurts, and has been hurt by people he was supposed to trust and depend on. I have to understand that. Or at least that's what I always told myself. When family hurts you, you naturally feel inclined to defend their actions. You try to convince your friends that they aren't so bad. You even try to convince yourself as a means of rejecting the pain. But abuse is abuse, no matter what color you choose to paint over it. And for a while, my father was a pitch black silhouette, a figure the light tried to touch, but instead all we got to see was a cast shadow of the person he could have been, but decided he wouldn't be. Hardly the father figure, but often the abuser. And no amount of bad experience can justify abusing your family. Now, I know I've been beating around the bush and holding off on explaining everything he did, but it's hard. And that's another thought I'm sure a lot of you, in and outside my shoes, have had. It's hard to come out and talk about what's been done to you. It's hard to admit the truth. But that's why I decided that I wouldn't keep quiet anymore. No more fear or worry or talking myself out of all the strife in my mind as if that will make it vanish. I will be for you what my father wasn't for me. Honest, transparent, and a good example. When I was a kid, my father lusted after me. Yes, this man I was raised by had been quietly sexualizing me, something I blocked out for a long time and suspected, but very recently got confirmed. He didn't look at me as though I were a child, and he had perverted his image of me in doing so. And while I don't recall him ever touching me, it's as I said before, he didn't have to. While you're free to debate on the nature of this being sexual abuse or no, and believe me, you're free to believe what you will, I still have my experiences. I remember certain faces he made towards me, certain gestures and words that encouraged the wrong thing. He'd linger near my person and kept close in a way that sincerely gave me nightmares both as a kid and as an adult. The kind that nearly made me lose sleep. I won't give any nasty details, of course. They won't benefit any of us anyway. But I need you to recognize that a child shouldn't know that kind of fear and confusion ever. It just isn't okay. And while I should be grateful that my dad never touched me, and I am, that was but the first warning of oncoming abuse before he started getting far more direct. In the years that followed, my father tried to force me, my mother, and my brothers into a mold. From the beginning, he wanted us to be shaped in a specific image. He wanted us to dress a certain way, surround us with certain company, and above all, he wanted our absolute obedience. And for a while, you could say he had it, but time changes us all. Eventually, our mannerisms, clothes, and interests took a path apart from the one he laid out for us, which is why he started to demean us at every turn. My father would talk down to us, and if he wasn't shaming our decisions, he was shaming our very person. Most of the time, he talked behind our backs, but the words always found their way back to us in the end. I was no exception. In my father's eyes, I was an irresponsible disappointment. I was a liar that was always sneaking off to do bad things with awful people. Now, I can't say I was a saint, I'm not perfect, but not all my actions were worthy of that inconsiderate reaction. It felt like nothing I ever did was good enough for him. Something I'd said or done would always become something of a burden on him, always something I should have second-guessed and felt bad for. And I guess, when I look at it that way, it's no wonder I started hating myself. When your own father makes you feel like you can't do anything right, when he makes it clear that he doesn't trust you, you feel broken. I felt like I was falling apart because the man that should have raised me was breaking me down. My actions, good or bad, didn't matter. He never really questioned or talked through why I did things. He just judged everything I did for years until he trapped me in my own self-doubt. And if he wasn't insulting me, he was insulting my brothers. If not them, then my mother. And God bless my mom, because she went through the absolute worst of it. In trying to protect us from his words, he put her through hell. He made her feel like she was trapped in that hideous inferno with him. He made her feel powerless and worthless, like she was nothing. He made me feel like I was nothing. Finally, he wore me down. He made me feel this small. He made me into an object that he pushed his sick desires and expectations onto. He made me feel unsafe. He made me feel anxious. He made me angry with how he treated my family and started to ruin them. He made me fear life so much that I sought comfort and gratification in others to a point where I clung to them to an unhealthy degree, because who else would I turn to? I made my friends into a toxic addiction. They were a drug and a safe haven that I didn't want to let reality into. I took them like pills constantly just to feel alive, and when it wasn't enough, I turned elsewhere. I turned to strangers that didn't care for my heart. I turned to distractions that couldn't heal. I tried to fill my mind with mindless nonsense just to stop the destructive voices in my head. They literally left me restless. They wouldn't keep quiet. They wouldn't shut up day or night. And eventually, I thought those dark, dark thoughts.
You don't want to do this anymore.
Make it stop. I almost took my life on June 11th of this year. I hit a point of rock bottom more recently than I want to admit, and I'm sure some of you have too. It took me 23 years to get to that point where I felt so miserable that I didn't want to be alive anymore. That hurt me in ways that words can't describe. However, it only took a few days for me to remember it doesn't have to be that way. If you struggle with suicidal thoughts, there is another way out. You may see that exit sign floating around the pills or the knife, but don't look at it, don't approach it, because exiting life is not the solution to it. You may not understand it now, but our time spent suffering is not even worthy of being compared to the reward and opportunity and joy that overcoming the pain can bring. I know life is hard. Trust me. In the process of trying to get the help that I needed, I had to make a lot of sacrifices so that I could learn to grow and find strength. And it was so hard. And the journey is gonna feel hard sometimes, and I know you may not like the idea of life getting any harder, but I promise you there are so many great things you can have and achieve when you choose to battle your anxiety and depression rather than taking it as it comes. When you choose to fight your personal demons instead of letting them in. Anger, rage, sadness, loneliness. None of that belongs in you, and absolutely none of that defines you. You are more. Look at yourself. I mean it. Look at yourself. Look at your face. Look at your hands. Wiggle your fingers. Look at that. You see? You're here. You're still here. You may be telling yourself, I'm weak, I can't do this, I can't keep fighting, but you are here because you're strong, and despite everything you're going through, you're still making the decision to get out of bed, to breathe, and do something. You think that just happens. You think it's easy. No, that is power. That is a body in motion, a body and a spirit that are still alive and aren't ready to go yet, that aren't ready to give up. So don't. Of course, everyone's situation is different, and it's easy for one person online to say life is worth living and things get better when I don't know what you're going through. But that's why you need to tell someone. You aren't weak for seeking guidance and help. You aren't weak for admitting you have a problem. Tell someone what's wrong and pray they lift you up, because you've been staying down for far too long and you don't deserve it. Don't spend so much time measuring your worth or keeping quiet because, oh, well, how important are my issues? Or what good can someone like me even do? What can I offer and achieve when I'm like this? Because you know what? I am someone like you too. And I know I have a lot to offer, even when I used to say I didn't. After all, I'm telling you guys my story, and surely it's gonna touch someone the right way. This word will reach someone's heart, and it will be enough to spark a positive change in at least one person, be it in a victim or a person who knows someone going through pain. And I wager to say that's pretty important. So if I can offer this much, just think about what you can offer. Believe me, it's not the end, guys. It's truly only the beginning. You still have the chance. You can still fight. You can still change. Just take the first step. So I know I said positive for you guys, because I know so many of you feel like you can't get help. And that's not true. There's so much more out there for you. Your life is so precious and meaningful, and I just need everyone that's listening to this to know that whether you're a fan or not, you're precious, and you need to stay alive. You have to. And I'm sorry to all the friends that I didn't tell this to. I'm sorry if I felt like I couldn't trust you. I'm sorry to any friends that I might have had to leave behind in the process of finding my strength, but I'm hoping that if anyone is listening, any of you guys, I'm sorry, but I'm better. I'm okay, and it is my sincere wish that everyone else be okay when they listen to this. I really hope it helps someone. I love you guys. Get the help you need.